name you may recognise from his appearances on the Gruen Transfer and the Gruen Planet. Yes. He writes blogs, tweets about marketing, ideas, contemporary culture and consumer behaviour. He has degrees in clinical psychology and commerce with marketing, and from memory was the chess champion of Western Australia in the under 10?
Under 12.
Under 12. So there you go. So he's just ridiculously smart. Anyway, on that note, please welcome
Thank you.
Ferrier.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for inviting me to talk. Yeah, under 12 state chess champion isn't quite as good as the international kung fu champion who you had an hour ago. Thank you again. Now, some of you may be wondering why a guy on advertising is here talking at such an illustrious place about the birthplace of democracy and so forth. This is my son Asterix. He's allowed to have free reign as well. But I won't pick you up. So you just have to crawl around. So advertising. So guess what goes hand in hand with capitalism in developed market? Oh, sorry, democracy is capitalism. So I think the cornerstone of any good democracy is capitalism, like it or not. I don't know if you agree with that, disagree, whatever. But having some kind of free market where people are allowed to spruik their wares and sell their product and make a go of it themselves goes hand in hand with democracy. And what goes hand in hand with capitalism is, guess, advertising. So the more advertising we see, the stronger the democracy we have. Nice try. I don't know. There's a great saying in Jungian psychology that we need to embrace our shadow, and the brighter the picture, the darker the negative. So I'd like to see advertising as being the shadow of democracy. And if you embrace your shadow, then the stronger your democracy will be. Now, if that's true, and it's very, very debatable if it is, but if that is true, there's a delicious irony in that there's only one capital city in Australia that bans outdoor advertising. Any guesses? Canberra. That's right. So anyway, this should go to show maybe the strength of our democracy. Now, to get on with what I want to talk about, the first thing I want to say is that true democracy scares me. And it scares the bejesus out of me because it's these people who, if we had a real true democracy, not just a representative democracy, these people would be making our decisions for us. Now, who here, on that diagram, that's obviously the Cronulla race rights, who there is an evil person? Anyone? Yeah? You think they're all evil? You think they're all different to you? No, and thanks for interacting. I really appreciate the comment. I kind of disagree with you though. I don't think any of them are evil, and I don't think any of those guys in that picture are particularly bad people. They're all people like you and I, struggling to get by, making the best of their lives, and have learnt some abhorrent behaviours and some really weird moral values along the way that they think that's okay. But I used to work in the prison system, so I spent my career working in forensic psychology in the first 5 years. And I saw a lot of people who were probably just like me, and if I'd grown up in their environment, I'd be doing the same thing as them. So we're all kind of feeble-minded. We're all suggestible to our environment. And these guys have grown up in a slightly different environment to most of us, and therefore have kind of come out slightly differently to us as well. Now, that scares me, having a true democracy. However, having a representative democracy scares me even more. And there's one really interesting thing I've found out that I've grown into an adult and become a father myself, and is that there's not people up there smarter than me. You know, there's nobody up there who knows what's going on better than I do, and I don't know what's going on. But, you know, they're making the same mistakes. And, you know, if you think about Australia's current policy on refugees, or even the current debate on gay marriage and the refusal to adopt that, they're making stupid decisions. Or I think they're silly decisions. And it's just like the guys on the previous page. You know, these are just two people trying to get by, trying to make decisions, and they're just people like you and I. And if we are going to have a democracy, the really scary thing is that it relies on the people to make good decisions. and I don't think we're particularly good at making good decisions. And so do people much smarter than I. So these are 3 books all written in the last 5 years. Nudge, Thinking Fast and Slow, and Stumbling on Happiness. And all of these books are investigating this whole thing about how we make decisions and how bad we are at making decisions. Probably my favourite out of those is by a guy called Dan Gilbert, Stumbling on Happiness, and it just talks about how bad we are at making decisions that make us happy. We have lots and lots of cognitive errors and make us do lots of different things that prevent us from being happy. These 2 books take a slightly different approach. They talk about behavioural economics. And behavioural economics is a new school of thought that puts psychology into the heart of economic decision making. Now, what that does is it takes people for who they are, irrational, emotional people, and then tries to work out what kind of decisions they make in economic environments. Until this guy appeared, Daniel Kahneman, that was in 1992, that was never considered. This guy he was a psychologist, he won the Nobel Prize for Economics for putting kind of irrational decision making at the heart of economics. Getting back to that list of cognitive errors. That list of cognitive errors, there's a whole lot of different ways we think that are wrong. And just don't electrocute yourself, mate. And there are a whole lot of different ways that we think in ways that are just wrong, or big kind of errors in judgment we make. And if you kind of play around with that little exhibit, there's a little TV in there that you can play with, and it shows you how all these different cognitive errors can come to play. So, I just wanted to show that list because that's about 1/3 of them. So there's hundreds of them, and they're kind of examples in everyday life. Now, to give you an example of this, I want you to try to work this out as quick as you can, and and as soon as you do, just yell out the answer. So if a bat and ball costs $1.10, the bat costs $1 more than the ball, how much does the ball cost? Yell it out. How much? 10 cents? Who thinks 10 cents? Put your hand up. Quickly. Okay, any other guesses? 5 cents? Yes, well done. It's 5 cents. Now, it looks like a bleeding... What did you guess, mate? $1, yeah, okay, fair enough too. But the answer's 5 cents. Now, it might seem like a really simple, in retrospect, exercise, but what happened then is that the brain thinks in 2 different ways, system 1 and system 2. System 1 is gut feel, intuitive and quick. System 2 is rational, reasoned, slow and thoughtful. So system 1 it's implicit. It just works things out on a gut feel. And on that other thing, the questionnaire you had, or the question, it said $1.10, 10 cents, dollar must be 10 cents. So snap decision makes it very easy, got it wrong. To turn on system 2 in our head takes a lot of effort, and we're very rarely in system 2. And for me to get you guys into system 2, I'd have to go stop, listen, focus, because most of you had probably started drifting off already. And that's okay, it's expected, it's who we are, it's what we do. To make that point, system 1, our autopilot, how we drift through the day, processes about 11 million bits of information a second. That's all the information that comes through our 5 senses. System 2 processes about 40 bits of information a second. So to put on system 2 and really think about something takes a hell of a lot of effort. It's much easier for us to kind of cruise by in system 1, get the general vibe of the thing, and and that's what leads to making all those kind of cognitive and thinking errors. Does that make sense? Guess who takes advantage of that the most? Advertising, that's great. Yep, okay. So there you go. And we take advantage of it because if you tried to live your life in system 2 and made rational decisions, you would go insane. It's just too much effort. And there's a great thing called the paradox of choice, which is the more simple things are, the less it matters, but the harder it is to make a decision. And so what we try to do is brands try to make themselves appeal to system 1 and make you make a snap decision and make your product seem different to another person's. So a really good example of that is molten salt. Does anybody buy molten salt? Put your hands up if you do. Okay, how much do you pay? Do you know? How much? Too much. Yeah, it's about $10. Sacks of salt's exactly the same. The crystals are slightly smaller. It's about 95 cents. Now the people who buy molten salt have just put just see nice packaging. It says imported from France. You associate it with being from nice places as you buy that. I've done the same thing with regular pool salt in Australia. If anyone has got a pool, if you buy Cheatham's Finest, Mermaid's Finest, that's the salt which is exactly like Cheatham salt, but it's in 20% smaller packaging, and it's about double the price, and you can only get it from pool shops. Exactly the same salt, but in a different bag, and double the price. It's one of my finest moments. So we're trying to target the explicit, and just if you go into that, that's the picture. That's a picture of me on that little display thing, which we haven't created. The Museum of Australian Democracy has created it. It's done a fantastic job, and it really just helps you understand all the cognitive errors that we have. Now, I just want to take you through one simple trick if you want others to comply with you. If you want to change other people's behaviour, I'm just going to show you one trick I know from my time of psychology and advertising, if I have time, which I do. So if you guys just please stand up and clap for me now. Thank you. That'll be wonderful if you do. Thank you. Up, come on, don't be lazy. Get up. Come on, everyone. No? Okay, that'll do. All right, thank you. Thank you very much for that. That feels really good to receive applause. Thank you, Asterix. You stop. Now, guess who likes me more right now? The people who stood up and clapped for me, or the people who didn't? Sorry? Who didn't? Mate, that's 0 out of 3. But but you're hanging in there, which is good. The people who like me more are the people who stood up and clapped. And the reason why they like me more is because they've now changed their thoughts and feelings to make sense of that action. And if I was a cult, that's exactly what I'll do, and I'm not a cult. But the more embarrassing or the more ritualised the process is to get into a cult, the more you're going to like it. Okay, so when the Australian Museum of Democracy, Eureka, says, will you mind filling in this little form for us while you're waiting for the next speaker, they're being very evil. By getting you to fill in that form, you don't know it, but you're binding yourself to this place. You're going to go away and think of this place and think of this amphitheatre and think of these speakers as much better than if you hadn't have done that, okay? So we're trying to get up, the more advertising is trying to get people to interact with us. The more you interact with something, the more you're going to like it. The reason why that's true is because of this. So we have our thoughts, our feelings and our actions and the ultimate behaviour that we do. So if I'm driving along on a street and somebody swerves in front of me and I think to myself, that guy did that on purpose, he's an arsehole, excuse me, how do you think that's going to make me feel? Angry, right? So your thoughts dictate your feelings, and then what would my actions be if I feel angry? Road rage, that's right, I'll shake my fist or other stuff, or swerve in front of them or whatever. And my behaviour becomes an aggressive driver. Now the interesting thing about the analogy is that our thoughts, our feelings and our actions have to be aligned. If they're not aligned, if our thoughts and feelings are not aligned with our actions, we experience what we call cognitive dissonance, which may be a term that you're familiar with. So dissonance between our cognitions and our actions. If you can get somebody to act first, then they'll change their thoughts and feelings to make sense of that action so that the thoughts, feelings and actions are aligned. Does that make sense? Cool. So advertisers now are continuing more and more to try to get people to interact with messaging. So we now are we're now changing behaviour not by giving rational messages about stuff or sending out emotional advertising. We're trying to change behaviour by getting people to interact with our brands, getting us to write out, in 25 words or less why you like this, getting us to like things on Facebook, getting consumers to talk about our brands on social media. Now, all of this is possible because of that. This is the greatest behavioural change invention since the Skinner box or something. And so every single time you're interacting with a brand, all I'll say is just be careful because your thoughts and feelings are going to follow that action. So, and that's one scary little thought, 77% now of all viewing on TV is done with either a laptop on your lap or a smartphone in your hand, and they're asking you to tweet, to play around with, to share, to vote, to do lots of different stuff. And all I'll say is just be aware of what's happening and be aware of the consequence of your behaviour of doing that. Cool. And so one last chart. So if all of that's true, there's a thing called the Benjamin Franklin effect, which says the best way to get somebody to like you is to do what?
Discover electricity?
No, yeah, maybe, but it's hard. It's an easier thing than that. Smile? No. No. So if you think about all the other stuff about trying to get people, if you get people to interact, then they're going to like you more, or they're going to change their thoughts and feelings to make sense of that action. Interact with them. Get them to do what? That's all right. You're right, though. You're absolutely right. Get them to interact with you. Get them to do you a favour. If you want somebody to like you, ask that person to do something for you, and then they'll like you more as a consequence of having done that thing for you. Okay, so you're now going to start to see in advertising brands stop trying to ingratiate themselves to you, but ask you to do stuff for them. And you're starting to see it already. Name my new burger. Get involved in my new, what flavours of chips shall we make? And they're asking you to do stuff for them. As soon as you do something for them, you're going to change your thoughts and feelings to make sense of that action, and you're going to like them even more. Benjamin Franklin, there was a guy in Congress, he needed that guy to like him. He thought, how can I get this guy to like me? He hates me. So he said, I know, I'll ask to borrow his book on ontology. He asked the guy if he could borrow his book. The guy said, oh, wow, what's Benjamin Franklin doing us if he can borrow my book? And the guy lent him the book, and as a consequence, they became lifelong friends. Just check it out on Wikipedia or on the internet or whatever. It's an amazing story. So that's how I think advertising is now kind of influencing people, is by getting them to do stuff for them. I think that's it. Thank you.